Hello and welcome back to Middle-earth. The game is Rome Total War Barbarian Invasion, the mod, 4th Age Total War, the Dominion of Men. I am Count MRVHS, the developing team writer for the mod, and this is episode 2 of our Chiefdom of Rhun campaign. When we last left, we just did a quick cruise around all of our settlements. We did manage to capture the nearby rebel settlement of Erebos after a tougher fight than it needed to be. But we are looking into turn 2 here. I went ahead and clicked end turn in between videos, so that should have given the traits time to fire. What I mean by that is, the last time we looked at our faction leader, he had 0 authority, and as you can see now, he's looking at a fairly healthy, if middling stat of 5 authority. This is just about at the halfway point. It can go from 0 to 10. Of course, we want to increase that over the course of our campaign here. Let's cruise around and take a look at our generals, our governors, and see how their opinion of liege stat is faring. Now, we had the general who captured Erebos stick around to be the commander there, or the governor, I should say, as he's a competent governor and a competent commander. And he is discourteous, unfortunately. Last episode, we looked at opinion of liege a little bit. We talked more about the authority stat. And as we mentioned, there is a correlation between those two. Discourteous, as you can see at the bottom here, that's giving him a -10 to trade, income tax, and land tax collection. 20% increase to troop training costs, -1 troop morale. So we're going to hope that we can increase this over the next few turns. Now, there's a few reasons this stat is a little bit on the low side. One of those is going to be the authority of our faction leader is at 5. It's not terrible, but it's not great. The other one is this family member comes from a completely different subculture as well as a different subfaction. Our faction leader is a plainsman and of the tribe of the White Ox. And here we've got, for Ulfang, he is a borderlander of the tribe of the Mighty Axe. So these are two just different subcultures, different subfactions. They're going to mean that he does not respect his leader quite as much. There are also going to be differences based on personalities and based on other things. But hopefully after a few turns, being the governor, once he gets that title, once he sticks around a little bit, hopefully that will improve. Let's see, where else do we have a governor? Fennis Rim, competent governor again. He's discourteous as well. Hopefully that'll improve. He's of the same subculture but a different subfaction. And our only other governor is the heir, Lorgan of West Rhun. He is a plainsman of the tribe of the White Ox. He is only dubious. That is a step above discourteous. He is only looking at a -5 to those income stats, -10% increase to troop training costs, and a -1 troop morale. The other factor here for him, though, and this is something we need to keep our eye on, is that I just noticed his alignment is shadow touched. So this is a good point for us to talk briefly about alignment in the mod. 4th Age has basically 3 alignments, and they function essentially like religion did in Barbarian Invasion. With the Chiefdom of Rhun, we have essentially 2 ways we could go. This is something that not a lot of factions have, but Rhun does. Harad, Dunland, and Adunabar are really the big 4 factions in terms of how alignment can change their recruitment style. So if we take a glance at our building browser for really any settlement, we will notice in our military development that we have a couple of different recruitment settings here. We have native recruitment and cultic recruitment. And if you actually right-click the native recruitment itself, it'll give you a little background to this scenario. So I'm just going to read this because I imagine a lot of people miss this. So let's see how this mechanic works. So native units represent the core units available to your faction. These are available for the most part in your faction's homelands, but some native units may also be trained outside these lands. In fiefdoms or outlands, some of these native units will no longer be available. So that is, if you conquer more, some of these core factional units, your native roster, will be replaced by some local troops. If your faction is capable of turning to the Shadow Cult, which ours is, the ability to train most elite native units will be replaced by the ability to train elite cultic units. Now you'll notice that the native recruitment and the cultic recruitment here are identical. So whether our faction is officially Ways of Darkness, as most of our family members are currently, or whether we are cultic, which we may be if we if our faction develops that way, then we will still be able to train warband and skirmishers. Let's go a little bit further up the tech tree though, and once we get to tier 3 we'll notice there are some differences. This is the hosting halls, and so here you'll notice that we have the same sort of the bottom tier units, but if we choose to go to the cultic level, we will no longer be able to train Spearmen of Rhun. Instead, we will get Axes of the Shadow and Spears of the Shadow. Now that looks like a pretty decent trade-off, and it may be, depending on your playstyle, depending on how you build. For me, though, I'm going to try to maintain native recruitment throughout the campaign, or, well, I say that. We'll see how it goes. I generally prefer the native recruitment. I just like the units better. We get Spearmen of Rhun, we get Eastland Darkhelms. They just call to me, what can I say? Axes of the Shadow, Spears of the Shadow, they are really solid units, very heavily armored, very good discipline, good morale, but they are a little on the expensive side, smaller unit sizes, so we'll be generally leaning towards native recruitment, but again, I'll be open to it. Now, with this heir here being cultic, essentially shadow touch, that means he's essentially a cultic follower. That is going to make him less loyal to the faction leader if the faction leader is Ways of Darkness, which he indeed is. Now these may change. Alignment can change over the course of the mod, so we'll have to see how this develops. Maybe just by sticking in a settlement with Ways of Darkness cultic conversion buildings, maybe we'll see our faction heir, and I've forgotten his name already, maybe we'll see Lorgan have a change of heart. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so on to business. We had trained, or sent rather, some troops to be under the command of Ulwar of Adel in the southern marches of our chiefdom here. We're going to go ahead and meet them up. And in the central part, we had marched our faction leader out of Tham with the best troops there, with the idea of heading into Mordor. We had also sent some troops east of Erebos. These were a couple of troops who got beat up pretty badly in that initial battle. We're going to send them back to Tham for some retraining. But the Waynes are going to go down to meet up with Brada, our High Chieftain. I'm not going to send them here yet because I want to make the most out of the movement points. So I'm going to send them down. Let's see. If they go straight down here, he should be able to meet up with them right there. Okay, I noticed that we can recruit some mercenaries here, and I think I'm going to do that. These slingers are quite a steal, I guess you could say, at 100 upkeep. They're pretty effective, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to need them at some point. In the far north, we don't have a lot of military presence. Initially, I'm not too worried about this, because North Rhun is a little further away from us initially. They have got their capital up here, and they own a couple of settlements, I know, to the west. Directly north of us, you can see just barely, there is a rebel settlement over in the forest here. And I know there's another couple settlements up here. Generally speaking, the AI factions are going to wait until rebel settlements in the neighborhood are conquered before they start attacking you. So I think we've got a little bit of time before we have to worry about North Rhun. I'm just going to send these guys up north to get a view of things, maybe build some watchtowers. And I had also trained some emissaries. Initially, we do not have the infrastructure to train spies or scouts, as they are called in this mod. So instead, we're going to train emissaries. We're going to get them going towards the other factions and see if we can scout out the land a bit as well. They're going to be the poor man's spy for us. In Erebos, I trained one. That's really all I can train in Erebos, just emissaries. We'll send this guy to the west. And here we have another rebel settlement, Brag Estelad. Not very strong. But I'm not in a rush to take this, partly because we've got very small forces in Erebos, and the other reason is, like I said, the rebel settlements kind of act as a deterrent. The longer they stay independent, the slower and less aggressive the other AI larger factions will tend to be. So I'm going to instead see if we can establish some diplomatic ties, potentially, with some of the factions in the area. And we also have our emissary over here. He's going to go into Mordor and see if we can strike up a deal with Adunabar. Alright, here we go. Now, we can't trade with Adunabar yet. We don't border any of their settlements. But the AI tends to value trade, especially once you border them. I'm going to just go for an alliance, though. Let's offer it, and let's see if we can get a bit of money out of this. Okay, so they want trade, and they want money. Alright, I'm going to counter, at least they're open to this, we're just with a straight-up alliance, and let's see if we can ask for 500, see if they'll be into that. Okay, so they're going to give us 320 for an alliance. I will take that. Next turn, or in future turns, when we do share a border with the Adunabar, I think they'll be more open to actually paying for trade. One thing I have noticed is that the AI factions tend to want you to pay when you can't actually trade with them. It's sort of an odd behavior, but we'll come back to the trade issue a bit later. I don't imagine we'll be doing too much trading with the Adunabar, because we'll probably end up at war with them sooner rather than later. But the whole point of this, as we mentioned in the last episode, we start off in an alliance with Khand. Khand is the faction to our south. They start in alliance with Adunabar. I want some Khand-ish territory, and so I'm going to be attacking them. And I would love to strip the alliance between Khand and Adunabar, and I hope to do that by forcing Adunabar to choose me over them. If I can act as the aggressor in the war, hopefully Adunabar will stick with me. Okay, we don't have quite a big enough army yet for me to feel comfortable starting a war, though. So I'm bringing this emissary back over here, in part to keep an eye on Khand. Let's head down here. Okay, great. Actually, this guy's got a great line of sight, so we can already see Muldin. I know that there's a couple of units in the garrison there, but I don't see a field army. I'm going to get him just a touch closer next turn. He'll build a watchtower. You'll notice that our profits are expected to be just over 1,800 a turn. That's not great. The lordships have not kicked in yet. We don't have really great governors at this stage anyway, but hopefully that will work out. Okay. Now I could build a watchtower right here. I think, though, instead, what I'll do is march down through this rebel territory, and I will... there's another mercenary. Okay. Blackland Mercenaries. These are a really great unit. Upkeep is a bit pricey, though. 780 every turn. These guys have got reasonable morale, which is actually quite good. They can make a shield wall, which is good as well. And they have just really good stats, especially compared to the Rhun sort of native units. Let's see, 37 defense versus 30, and this is a tier 3 unit, Spearman of Rhun. So I am interested in picking them up a bit later. Not just yet, though. We'll move them, Brada, down a bit further, and we can hopefully build a watchtower there where we have just a better chance of seeing everything here. All right. Now, do I want to build anything just yet? I don't now. Again, because, at least here, this guy, Lorgan, is extravagant. Not only is he an inept governor, which gives him some debuffs in terms of building and recruiting, but he's extravagant, which is good for trade. One of the reasons I kept him in is this can actually improve your trade income, but it's bad for building. As you can see, a 5% increase to construction costs. He may also be unwise. He's unlearned, if you will. So another 3% increase to construction costs. This may change over the course of a few turns in the settlement, but it may not. Let's see. I think more than building at this stage, I'm going to get some benefits out of recruiting. So let's send this archer down. Let's train a cavalry unit. These guys are pretty cost effective, and they have a spear, so a nice shock element. And here, let's see, what do I have in this army? Just one unit of warband. We're going to go with a skirmisher unit. Pretty cheap. Skirmishers are wow, very cheap upkeep, 60. So I'm going to recruit one of those. And let's see. Generous. He's a competent governor. Plainsman. I'm going to hold off. Like I said, in a couple of turns, this guy's going to get a lordship. He's going to get the attuned governor trait if he sticks around long enough. So I will wait for those things to kick in. I'm going to go ahead and just end the turn here. All right. Before I forget, I want to move my emissaries around. Up here, I want to send this one to find the rebel settlement that's nearby. Okay, Thordram. It's within spitting distance. However, I'm not too eager to capture it right now. I'm going to be spending money developing Erebos. Again, I don't necessarily want to border North Rhun just yet, and this is unwalled. It'll take a lot of money before this truly comes online. So I'm probably going to let North Rhun take it. And there's some rebels hiding in the woods here. If I let North Rhun grab that, let them build it up a little bit, and then go to war with them and take it once it's a bit more valuable, that'll be better, I think. Okay, we've got Thandos here, my other emissary. Yeah, let's just head him north. I should be running into a Ravanian settlement here. Okay. Let's check the diplomacy overall. I'm at war with Dale, and I did pick up another enemy in the last turn as the dwarves joined in with their allies. In this mod, the Dwarven Kingdom and Dale are in an unbreakable alliance, or as unbreakable as alliances can be in Rome Total War, which is essentially equivalent to the Roman factions in the vanilla game. So here we've decided that Dale and the dwarves would be sort of tight-knit allies on account of their history fighting together at the end of the Third Age. But what it means in this particular mod is that when Dale goes to war with a faction, the dwarves also declare war. And when Dale makes peace with a faction, I believe the dwarves will follow as well. This is the same thing that happens with the Reunited Kingdom in Rohan. So they've got an alliance block here. Now, if the player is either one of these factions, the player can decide to follow on wars or not. Okay. I was checking out Rovanian's diplomacy and Dorwinian. Okay, so both of them are here. I'm neutral to both of them. They have no allies, no enemies. So they might be pretty amenable to trade at this early stage. It might not be a bad idea to establish trade with Dorwinian. I'm just not sure. Let's do that. Dorwinian owns territory right here. In fact, this is their capital, Belagant. This is a very valuable settlement. It starts off with a port, high timber walls, very well built up, and it has the wine resource, which you can probably see barely right there. This makes this province very wealthy, potentially, and the sea trade. So given that we have a couple of harbors here, we could develop them into ports. We could maybe get some trade going with Dorwinian, so that might be a good thing to try. And maybe we can make some money from them out of the deal. I know that this is one of our victory conditions. We have to take the capital of North Rhun, which is Fornhud. We have to take the capital of Khand, which is Acharn, or Acharn, I believe. And then we have to take Beligant, the capital of Dorwinian, as well. But it's going to be a while before we get over there. Maybe in the meantime we can do some trading. Let's see. Maybe, in fact, we can even ally with them. And see if we can get some cash. No, they are not interested in that whatsoever. Okay, fair enough. Let's try and see what Rovanian is up to. So here's what I'm thinking. Rovanian often gets into trouble with the other Northmen factions. So Dale, which is right above them, tends to attack them and cause problems. If I can maybe cultivate a relationship with Rovanian, that might not be a bad idea. And then I can... Let's just ask them for a little bit of money for this. Okay, nope, they're not interested either. All right. Fair enough. I'll keep this guy around here because I want to... Well, in particular, I want to keep him around here to see when and if Rovanian takes it, because then I'll know we have to be a bit worried. In the south, I'm going to send this emissary over here. Okay, we just ran into an Adunabar army with some very tough-looking soldiers here. Swords of the Shadow, Spears of the Shadow, very well armored, difficult troops. This match is not something this army could handle. So if Adunabar expands in this direction, which they look like they are primed to do, fortunately, this settlement here, Amrun Megor, has a wall, and it has a pretty decent amount of independent aligned troops within it. Now, Adunabar can definitely take this settlement, and they probably will, but it's likely to remain a problem for them in terms of public order. I hope that is the case. I hope they'll wear out their resources attacking this place, which will give me some time to attack Khand, or at least secure my position a bit more. Let's see our other notifications here. Training, building, Erebos. Let's see. We've got to build Homeland Dominion. So this is good. Erebos counts as a homeland for us, which means that we're going to see some land tax. So in 5 turns when this is done, we'll be making another 300 or so. Making another 20 or so in trade, and our income tax will be making another 100 plus. We will get a bit of corruptions to lose some of that, but this is going to allow us to start training and building other things, so we definitely have to do that, and hopefully we can get to a point where we build walls there before too long. Oh, fantastic. Okay, so our lordships are starting to come online, and we have the coming of age Borlas of the tribe of the White Ox. He is incompetent and inept at governing and commanding respectively. He is a plainsman, tribe of the White Ox, like his father Brada. Lazy, unintelligent, uncharismatic, careless fighter, unwise. You know, he looks like a good candidate for some cavalry. He will just do some fighting. The question is, do I want him to fight with Dad in the south or send him up in the north? Let's go south. I'll also go ahead and send these troops into Tham, and we're going to do some retraining. I do have the Tier 3 barracks here built already, hosting halls, so that allows me to retrain these Spearmen of Rhun as well as the lower tier Axemen. I can also train some cavalry here. Riders of Rhun are pretty decent. Again, Rhun is a good all-around faction. They're not great at anything in particular, but they're pretty good at everything. So I just don't know that I want to spend... although it's interesting, they cost exactly the amount in upkeep as the Eastland Raiders. So these are a bit more expensive on the front end, but it costs 2 turns to train them, which is why I'm a little hesitant to do that. I would rather spend money on things that I can get quickly. Axemen of Rhun are going to be pretty good, but I'm also already retraining a set here, and I have 1 unit down here, so let's see. 1, and that'll be 2. Let's train something a bit cheaper. I don't think I have any other ranged units but those slingers that I picked up. So we will grab an archer unit, and we'll call that good for Tham. Down here, I'm already losing some cash to that to the Homeland Dominion building. Here I think we're going to go and splurge a little bit, and we'll build a watchtower. This will allow us to keep an eye on Mulden, and oh, I see something very interesting here. Okay. So, here we have Lieutenant Fand, which is just a captain for the Chiefdom of Rhun. He's got 4 units, and he's right outside Mulden, which has 3. These look like small unit size because the banner is not filled up very much. So my guess is these are probably horse archers, which is not ideal for us to be fighting initially. But these don't look like that. These look like some cav, some just tier 1 watchmen. So what I'm thinking is, oh gosh, if I had more cavalry here, we could hit them right now. We can reach them. We could attack the garrison and the main army, and if we beat enough of them, we could waltz into Mulden. This could be very problematic. Okay, let's go for it. Let's give it a shot here. I want to save the game real quick. All right. And I want to position myself pretty much right between them. All right, let's see what they got. Okay, they've got mostly foot units. This is a pretty decent hybrid unit for Khand archers. They've got swords as a backup weapon, pretty good armor. And in here, okay, we've got the air, which is not great. We've only got 1 horse archer unit, step outriders, that's good, and another unit of low tier pneumatic watchmen. So I'm going to go for it. Attack ally. Yes, we're going to do this. Okay, let's see how this goes. All right. We got some rain here. Honestly, I'm fine with that. I have, I think, 1 unit of archers, so it's not going to make much of a difference. Start the deployment now. First thing, I'm going to take these guys right off skirmish. Now, they do have some foot archers in the main army that's going to appear in front of me here. I'm not too worried about them, honestly. If we were to go in a toe-to-toe matchup with my Easterling archers, I've got a larger unit size, and that's going to count for quite a bit. But the army that I really want to eliminate is over here, just to the northeast of my starting position. So I'm going to actually ignore this army and set up right over here. So you can just barely see the settlement in the distance. And here the unit that I'm most worried about is going to be the faction, the family member, which is a really heavy cavalry unit. So I'm going to have to basically mob him with my warband and my spearmen of Rhun. Let's take a closer look at these guys, by the way. Again, I love the unit design here. The shield looks like sort of an ox head with the horns sticking up. There seems to be, in this mod, a bit of a sort of a Russian influence on the Easterling factions, at least the Rhun and North Rhun. This was something that was settled, before I came on the team, which I love, actually. The look is great. Sort of makes sense, too, with the kind of geographical correspondence between Tolkien's Middle-earth and the real world. So let's just start the battle here. I want to move up, and they're starting way over there. Now this army is mostly infantry. It'll take them a while to get here. Let's run. So the danger here is I told you guys to run. The danger here is I guess, twofold, right? One is Of course, I lose the battle. The other one is that I win, but enough people retreat that it becomes a pain to siege Mul'din. Take you off skirmish. As soon as they appear, we should just about be in range of their horse archers, and so I want to concentrate fire on them. Looks like we're already shooting at someone. Fanatic Watchman. Okay. Yeah, Dragon Guard. These are a pretty intimidating unit. They cause fear. Go ahead and war cry with my axemen, and I'm going to push these guys straight forward. Why beat around the bush? Alright. We've slowed them down, which is great, because that prevents them from charging. We didn't catch those horse archers. That's fine, actually. If they choose to attack me, I'm not too worried about it. These are very weak in melee. So my hope is that over here, we'll just kill the general. I mean, obviously, right? But I don't want him to rout and get off the corner of the map back to the settlement. That will mean, even if I kill everybody else on the field, that will mean that that I don't win the settlement itself. All right, looks like I've thrown all my javelins. But they're, of course, shooting at my general. I'm going to need to keep some of those guys alive, too, as a cavalry unit, obviously, so I can run down any routers. Alright, losing heavily, and only 4 of them left. My spearmen have been doing great. Axemen running into a bit of trouble. It looks like they bore the brunt of that cavalry charge. Where is the general? Oh, I guess that's him. Okay. Let's see. The other problem, my archers could counter the archers of Khand, the foot archers that are marching towards me slowly. But they're just about out of ammunition. They're going to use it all, taking out these horse archers. So that's going to make this part of the fight more challenging. Okay, here we go. General is down. Alright, and they are routing, so I'm just going to clean that up with my general. Hopefully we'll get all of them. Okay, and we're out of arrows. Okay. That's okay. I think we will still be able to take the city as long as we take most of these guys out. The other thing is, though, we need to give this portion of the army the same treatment because we are not besieging the settlement. So even if we win the battle, these guys will retreat probably into the city, which means we will have to set up a siege, and it'll just take longer. More chance of a relief army coming. Okay, they're going to send their archers forward. This is not going to go well. I lost a lot of guys. My spearmen are doing pretty well. These guys are tired, however. I'm going to have to use my archers in this fight, unfortunately, so we'll move them up. In terms of their infantry, I'm not too worried. These Variag axemen are okay. They're a solid tier 2 unit. Nomadic Watchmen are not too much of a concern. The problem is my matches are a little screwed up here. I want to get the Spearmen over here to counter their cavalry, get the axes over here. Okay. Hopefully they'll stick around and let me do that. Make this formation a bit deeper. Oh, they're running. Okay, that probably makes sense for them to do. Okay, well, here's what I can do. I can... Right, that's fine. I'm going to take out those archers at least.
Flee from the field like frightened goats, hunt them down, and slay them all.
Okay, hopefully. This is not necessarily going to be easy. Evenly matched. Okay, get out of here. Okay, and they're turning around. Shoot. Here's them to form up. We are going to charge in. If I can take them out, that'll be great. We're winning easily against my warband tier 1, but we got them to rout right away. Oh, are they sticking? Oh, okay. I am the attacker in this scenario, so it looks like they were just maybe reforming in a different position. Okay, that's good. I can take them out a little more piecemeal. And these axemen, of the 2 infantry units that are left, the axemen are the more troubling one. All right. So actually, let's you halt. Let's try to do this right this time. We'll have everybody get where they need to be. Now, they've got archers. Those archers are probably shooting at me from... Nope, they have to march a little bit. Okay, that's good. Okay, now they're already shooting at me, and I think they're probably hitting my own archers. We are very tired with these spearmen. Let's send my axemen straight up to engage. Tell you what, I'm going to run my archers forward. Okay, great. Utterly tired. Tired. Okay. My goal here is not actually to fight, but I want to push their archers away. And hopefully they're on skirmish mode too. Nope, looks like they're going to stick around and fight. Well, that makes sense. Oh, no, marching. They're leaving. Okay, good. I will do the same. And I just want them to be moving so that they're not shooting. Okay, now they're nicely nestled in among their own troops. Tired, very tired. I'm going to march the axemen forward a little bit, give them space and time to do a war cry. Get the warmen up there as well. Again, I'm just trying to push. Whoops. Don't charge. Okay, let's get out of there. Just pushing them away a little bit. Okay, so we've got a few... Yeah, they're shaking. I gotta get them out of there before they just rout off the field. Okay, it looks like they're not retreating. They're just forming up a little bit of a hill to their advantage, so it makes sense. Alright. They are attacking at range. What are they shooting? Not much, because their own watchmen are blocking them. So that's great. I'll just let them do that. They're utterly tired. A fantastic looking unit, though. I love the shields on the back. Okay. I'll halt those spearmen right here. I want to engage the infantry first, and then I'll use the spearmen to attack these Variag riders. So, Variags are, not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but Variags are one of the few sort of cultural terms in Middle-earth that we know almost nothing about. In the mod, we have gone for an interpretation of them as sort of a breakaway Northmen group. This is on the basis of the etymology of the word. Variag is related to the word Varangian. You may be familiar with the Varangian Guard of Byzantium, famously sort of Slavic or Russian-descended Vikings who followed the river courses in Russia down to the Black Sea and entered service ultimately in the court of the Byzantine Emperor. And so here we imagine that Tolkien would have been aware of that link, that etymology. And so instead of treating the Variags as sort of a Mongolian portion, as we initially had, we revised that a little bit so that they represented a breakaway Northman faction from Rhovanion who had perhaps moved into the east and settled down in the southeastern portion of the map as mercenaries, much like the Varangians themselves. Alright, so we're going to hope their cavalry sticks around for this fight. Do some flanking with my archers over here, and they are fantastic. Alright, so now it's going to be very important that they don't get away. Okay, and they're losing against my spearmen. My spearmen are winning. Oh, they're running. Not so fast. Okay, they outnumber me quite a bit, and they are good against cavalry, especially on the charge with those spears. But we've got them from behind, so hopefully this is not going to result in the death of my commander. We will see. 23 to 10. This is not looking great. Okay, I got to pull out. Okay, they're running away, but you know what? Let's go this way. Okay, good. Do not charge. Alright, we want to get all of those archers of Khand. Alright. Now, he may be withdrawing. If that is the case, that's not ideal. But, you know, we did a pretty good job here. We killed Olgan of High Khand, and this is a captain. Now, he'll retreat into the town, which means we won't get the settlement this turn, which is a little disappointing. But nothing we can do about it now. Okay. Let's continue just to rout and capture all of those nomadic watchmen. So a heroic victory. We were outnumbered in that fight. Let's just take a look at the statistics. Chieftain Star get a little experience, but I don't necessarily believe that that's going to stay. He lost a lot of men, and as new bodyguard members fill in the losses there, he's going to probably lose that experience. Alright, oh my gosh. Alright, quick save. Alright. Alright. Look at this. I just love it. Empty settlement for the taking. Alright, before I do that, I am absolutely going to recruit some mercenary step outriders. So these are some horse archers. 170 upkeep. That is, I believe, the exact same upkeep as all of my other cavalry units. So it makes perfect sense to recruit them. I'm going to hold off on these, though. Variag mercenaries. So these are the toughest of the tough. These are a mercenary version of the Tier 3 Khand infantry units. So Khand can train these at its highest level barracks, and they're just a great unit. They're based, actually, on the Huskarls from Viking Invasion 2, if you remember that. I'm not recruiting them now because they've got a pretty high upkeep, and I am not wealthy. But they're effective against armor. They get great armor, good morale, powerful charge. These are good guys to have, and you know, I'm sure at some point I will be doing that. Okay, we are going to go ahead and take Muldin. All right, now here they do not like me. I believe Khand is going to be a fiefdom rather than a homeland. That is, it's slightly outside of our sphere of cultural influence, but it's easier to bring into the fold than a place like Gondor would be. Now, I've got a relatively small garrison here. I don't know that I want to necessarily massacre all these people, but we may, Mr. Frodo. Okay. Fear of your warrior spreads like fire. I love the smoke sort of coming up from a wrecked settlement. Great, so that was the enemy army routed. Even though we didn't get the captain here, he was just a nameless, faceless lieutenant. So he just fled into the fields. We got a heroic victory marker here as well for old Ulwar of Adel. Okay. Poor commander. Now, I can't remember if he was a poor commander or if he just got a bit better. He may have been poor initially, but hopefully he will improve as we go on. Okay, what I'm going to do is, as I said before, we can't recruit spies. I'm going to get emissaries. We're going to put taxes to low, and we're going to make some more money by destroying stuff. Now, again, in this mod, it looks like I could build a bunch of things, but in the 4th Age, what we have done is made it so essentially when you first take over a settlement, it's largely useless to you. Control posts, I can't do anything here, so we're going to destroy it. A lot of these I can make use of, but first, before I can train anything, I'm going to have to get rid of their homeland dominion, as it says here. If you're not playing as Khan, you should destroy it. I'm going to destroy it. And I'm going to set up provincial pacification. So in a couple of turns, I'll be able to work on probably fiefdom dominion here. And that'll be good. I'm going to bring down my archers. Let's see. I also trained some cavalry. That'll be helpful. And, you know, I think I want some more archers because Khan fields a lot of its own archers, and we will have 0 counter to horse archers unless we make our own infantry versions. Let's see, I made some skirmishers. I'm going to send them down as well. And let's see, we've got 8,000 in the bank. That's not a lot, but I'm going to train a unit of warband. We're training archers up here. Let's see. Alright, now he's got the Lordship of West Rhun. In a turn or so, he should get attuned governor. Check, I believe. Yeah, just the Blackland mercenaries. It's always a good idea just to double check, though. So I want a watchtower right about here. This will keep an eye on Adunabar. I don't want them marching all the way under the shadow of the Ash Mountains here, right into my heartland. So if I build a watchtower here, hopefully that'll cover pretty close to the edge of the mountains. I should see them coming. Alright, let's march this guy back to sort of meet up with any reinforcements that are heading this way. Okay. I think I've moved all my emissaries in the previous turn. Up here, I don't think I want to go with a watchtower just yet. This rebel army could attack me, and so I'm just going to back off. Pretty sure I could take that fight. It's pretty low-level troops, but I don't want to waste the men at this point. Let's see here. How are you doing? Competent, but I think we can hold off a little bit. Let's just click end turn, and we're probably going to end the episode at the beginning of the next turn here. What do we have for news? Yeah, we lost a lot of money, but we are going to start making it once we establish dominion in these newly found settlements. So Harondor and Adunabar are at war. That's good for us. Oh, and I forgot to check the diplomacy here. We still have Adunabar as an ally. So, although I added an enemy in Khan here, Adunabar is my ally, and because I was the aggressor in that fight, I kept Adunabar as an ally. Now that'll be useful. As you can see, they've already besieged Amrun Magar. I don't think they're going to take it on the first attempt, but they have also taken over the province of Mordor North, which has a settlement right over here. So I am now officially neighbors with the Kingdom of Adunabar. This is not great. They can be a very aggressive faction, but as you can see, they've also got a tendency to make themselves lots of enemies. They're at war currently with the Elven Realm, with the Reunited Kingdom and Rohan, and that's going to stick around for the rest of the campaign. That war, because as long as one of them is at war with Adunabar, the other one will be as well. And they just made an enemy with the Principality of Harondor, so that's good. Khand, meanwhile, has no allies, just enemies. Now, what this means is I may be able to sort of soft pedal this war a little bit, get an emissary down to the next province, and just see. I want to scout out things just to see if there are any armies in the neighborhood, and there don't appear to be yet. They are setting up a force here that's pretty big, right outside of their capital city at Karn. But at this point, with Khand at war with me, with no allies, they may be willing to come to the bargaining table in terms of a ceasefire. This is another one of the benefits of playing on medium campaign difficulty. So I'm going to get my troops down here. I'm going to send the less experienced of these two down here. I think the more experienced will be needed if we go to war with the Adunabar, which we almost certainly will. And we're going to send let's send both of these troops down. I don't really need the garrison here, but I will train just a unit of skirmishers, just to have a token force in case my governor decides to die. Alright, and we're going to bring down this family member to serve as another cavalry unit. This is good. We've got a unit of Riders of Rhun here. We've got an extra cav unit, and those are really helpful if you actually want to use your wains in battle, which we will see, I'm sure, in some future episodes. Let's see, up north, not a lot to go on. Let's send him up here. Let's go looking for that other rebel settlement. I think it's somewhere in this area. Attuned governor yet? Not yet. He is under the weather, however. Well, that's fine. He's just a governor. He can stay bundled up in the settlement and get healthy in the next few turns. Okay, so I want to move down here. We'll just keep this emissary in the area to keep an eye on any other factions that may come sniffing around. Now, Breg Estelad is the settlement for the province of Eastern Rovanian. This is the only province that borders Erebos, I believe. So that means if anyone like Adunabar or Rohan or the Reunited Kingdom, if they want to start attacking me, they're going to take this first. So if this goes to another faction, then I'll know that an attack is probably imminent. All right. Now that we border Adunabar, I'm going to send the emissary up here with the idea of establishing trade rights. Oh, jeez. This is a pretty big, pretty elite-looking force. All right, we've got some Swords of the Shadow, Shadow Riders, which are a pretty good cavalry unit, very good. Catapults of the Shadow Cult. These are just a nightmarish unit for us to have to deal with on the battlefield. And they've got Grand's Men, which are a scary unit and effective against armor. They've got these Warhammers. The idea here, the lore behind this unit, this is a Weba 84 unit that just got added, I believe, with the last release. Was it 3.3 or 3.4, which is not out yet, which is so I'm using a developer build here. So this unit may or may not be available in all areas. We're hoping to release 3.4 in a little bit. But in any case, Grand's Men, the lore behind them is that they are sort of taking the that great battering ram right at the Siege of Minas Tirith at the in the War of the Ring. That they're sort of echoing that or sort of using that as their totem, if you will. These are huge units on the battlefield. They're like a head taller than normal men, and the idea is there's some secret culty magic stuff going on to make them tough and intimidating. So this is an elite and rare, thankfully, for me, unit of Adunabar's cultic forces. But we can see here that there is some unrest with Athrad Morn. So that means that Adunabar may lose this settlement next turn, which would be great. They'd be kicked out. A big rebel army spawns there. They have to deal with it. So again, they grind down their forces. I'm going to see if we can establish trade rights. And I'm going to ask for some money because I desperately need it. Yes, and you see that before Adunabar wanted me to pay for trade rights. Now they're willing to pay. We share a trade route, and they are eager to get some cash. And I imagine they're probably not doing too great financially. I'm going to keep this emissary right here just within the line of sight to see if and when this rebels. And I'm also going to have to keep an eye on this to see if and when Adunabar takes it. If they do, they'll be sharing several borders with me, and this is going to be potentially a big problem. So I actually wouldn't mind a ceasefire with Khan. But at this point, guys, I think I'm going to call this an episode. We've gone a little long here today, but I just can't help it playing this mod. So hopefully everything worked out here from my end. Technically speaking, I had some black screen issues before, but I'm enjoying the campaign so far. Hopefully you're enjoying viewing. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a great day. Bye-bye.